Welcome. In front of me I have the Realme Note 60, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick look at the device itself. So anyway, let's just get straight into this. I need to cut my way in. Okay, so it looks like that's basically everything that is in the box. Now let's take a look at the phone itself. So booting it up, we should be able to see the screen in just a moment. Let's wait for that. Okay, there we go. So right now you can see the display, and it's what the actual bezels are. And this is a 6.74 inch display running a resolution of 720 by 1600. It is an LCD IPS at 90 Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 560 nits. It also boasts an 85% screen to body ratio with a pixel density of 260? That doesn't seem right. Anyway, continuing on. Let's talk about the internals now. So the internals are, the battery here is a 5000 mAh battery with a apparently 10 watt charging speed, so very low. You actually don't need to buy a separate charger for this. Virtually any charger that you have laying around that has a Type-C port on it will work. Continuing on, the processor powering this is a Unisoc Tegra T612, and the device itself comes with either 4, up to 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM. It has a couple different versions, so the cheapest one will be the 64 gigs of storage with 4 gigs of RAM. The most expensive one will be 256 with 8 gigs of RAM. And we do have expandable storage in here, so you can just pop in an SD card, and you don't need to go for the 256 gigs of storage if you don't want to. And 8 gigs, you can go for instance for the 128 with 6 gigs instead of 8. And there we go, you can see the tray right here. Now, taking a look at the back of the device, you can see we have what looks to be a... Oh, no way. So this is a single camera setup, I believe. I haven't checked that just yet, but this looks like a fake. There is no lens by the looks of it. Let's see if I'm correct. And yes, I am. So the only sensor here is this one. Not sure why the hell they put this bullshit here, because it's literally a fake. There is nothing there apart from a camera bump. Why the hell would you do this? How high do you need to be to put a fake and make it also protrude? What's the purpose of this? Get your head out of your ass, whoever is designing this. Jesus. Anyway, so the main sensor right here is a 32 megapixel f1.8 aperture wide sensor that will allow you to record videos at 1080p 30 frames. And the selfie up front is a 5 megapixel wide sensor that doesn't specify what the capability of it is. And last thing would be the build quality right here. So it's primarily plastic. That's as good as I can tell you. With plastic frame, plastic back, and luckily we do have a Type-C charging port along with a headphone jack at the bottom, speakers and a microphone, and then at the top nothing. On the right, volume buttons and a power button. That is not a fingerprint sensor, I want to also add. Although it technically GSM Arena states that this is a fingerprint sensor. You know what? I'm gonna go to the setup because this does not look like a fingerprint sensor to me, so I'm gonna check it out. So, come on. Soon we should have... I guess it is a fingerprint sensor. Well, would you look at that? The reason I thought that it isn't is if you look at it very closely, if the camera can finally catch the focus, come on. There we go. you can see it looks like a traditional button. So yeah, but that is actually a fingerprint sensor. Surprising. Okay. So that's the fingerprint sensor. Now, last thing that I want to talk about is the actual price for this device, and this is one of the more budget devices you can get. It costs about 80 euros, and for that price you get a functional phone with cable and a case. Oh my goodness, there's a huge hole for it, and all it does is just covers it aesthetically so the little smooth area would look better. Again, why? Okay, so yeah, anyway, cheap phone. That's basically as best as I can explain or classify it. And in all honesty, I'm probably not the person that this, actually no, I'm not probably, I'm not the person that this phone is catering towards, because I would prefer to spend just a little bit more, double that, and get something like, for instance, the Nothing phone, or not Nothing phone, but the CMF phone. It's made by Nothing. It's mid-range device with very respectable specifications. And the reason I'm pointing that out is cheap phones like this are cheap, but there is this kind of, if you spend more on it, we're talking about like up to 300 bucks, you get a just vastly superior device compared to what you have right here. And that is also not the case if you go, for instance, from 300 to 600. You're not getting like 3 times better device like you would be going from 80 to 300. And even furthermore, from like 600 to 1200, there's almost no difference. It's just primarily like aesthetics and just, for instance, Apple tax or Samsung tax and stuff like that. So I would highly recommend going for just a bit of a faster device, as it will, for the long run, be actually cheaper than what you have right here. This is a device that you might buy because you're going hiking and you don't care if it falls out of your pocket and screen gets smashed on a rock, or if you go swimming and the phone basically falls from a boat into the ocean or whatever. So that's, I guess, as far as this phone, I would say would serve me. As at 80 bucks, I wouldn't really care that much about it. But if I want to have a device that I would be using on a daily basis, I would want something that works a bit faster and has just a little bit more appeal to it, with like better display, for instance, faster processor, and charging specifically. I'm the type of person that plugs in my phone for charging at like very last moment, and I would like to have it so after 10-15 minutes it can last for the rest of the day. 10 watts will get you barely any charge, so that is a massive downside of such a cheap device. But like I said, if you value such a thing, I would recommend just saving up a bit more and getting a better device that will go farther in terms of the money invested than this one will. And that is the case for, I would say, probably 99% of really, really budget devices, like the base entry that you can get, as this is one of the cheapest phones, only beaten, I think, by Huawei's that cost like $60. And under no circumstance would I recommend going for those, because they're even cheaper. Unless, obviously, you want some phone that you don't care if it breaks the next day. Now, with that being said, hopefully you found this very helpful. And if you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.